They didn't get a send-off. No reunion, no last fight, no slow fading outro. Soundtrack. One day they were a franchise centerpiece. The next deleted. TLC quietly pulled Andrei and Elizabeth from their schedule, promo cycle, planning dogs, footage banks. Everything. No press release, no cryptic post, no closure. They didn't even trend. When it finally happened, they vanished like a scene that never got cleared in post. What makes this worse? It wasn't an accident. It was precision. Cold, silent surgery behind studio doors. The network didn't pause them. They blacklisted them. And they did it so cleanly, most fans didn't even realize it until Reddit dug it up. Suddenly, couple accounts stopped updating. Their episode tags were gone. Backlink playlists disappeared. Even TLC's thumbnail reshuffle yanked their faces from the Discovery feed. Every trace removed like they never mattered to begin with. And the internet once it caught on, the whirlwind didn't start with mourning. It started with fireworks. You'd think something this big would be messy. But the mess had already happened off-camera season after season until producers hit a wall. The eraser was the cleanup. And when it came, fans didn't cry. Many of them cheered. Welcome to TLC Drama Files. I'm Eliva. And if you've followed a day Fiancé from the early chaos to the current scandals, then buckle up because this isn't just a breakup between reality stars and a network. It's a controlled demolition. One built up slowly and triggered in silence. Make sure you're subscribed. Because what's coming next is packed with the kind of receipts TLC never aired. At first, nobody knew where to aim their questions. Was it a network decision, a PR strategy, a contract gone wrong? But then people started comparing timelines, followed deleted clips, noticed missing cameos, and the same name came up again. Andrei, and right behind him, Elizabeth. The chaos couple that once broke viewing records across 4 spin-offs didn't get fired during a blowout. They got ghosted like a bad date with too many red flags. What really shook viewers wasn't that TLC dropped them. It was how fast the fans stopped caring when it happened. Andrei spent years fueling the love him or hate him fire. But now either fans weren't clapping back to defend him or posting bring him back edits. They were exhausted, relieved. Some were even mad. They weren't cut sooner. So why now? Why this season? And why so quiet? Because things behind the scenes had crossed a threshold. Not into illegal, not into scandal, but into something reality TV. Fears more than controversy. Fatigue. Crew fatigue. Fan burnout. Script. Repetition. A loop that never broke. And when even drama becomes boring, that's when the eraser comes out. Elizabeth's IG, once the digital accessory to their every stage fight, went eerily still. No Instagram stories, no date night. Selfies, not even a repost of their past milestones. And Andrei, he found out the same way you probably did online. Fans discussed it. TikTok froze him out and network insiders stopped replying to his emails altogether. He wasn't warned. He wasn't benched. According to multiple sources, he was cut one thread at a time. Borders closed around him while he thought he had leverage. But here's the kicker. He didn't realize Elizabeth had already stopped defending him. What Andrei did next just shocked fans. It terrified producers. Before the silence. Before the blacklist, before the quiet removal that felt more like a hit job than a cancellation, Andrei and Elizabeth were fire. Not subtle, not deep, but loud, explosive. The kind of couple that walked into a scene and immediately pulled the chaos toward them like a black hole in a barbecue apron. Their first season, instant car crash television. Andrei came in hot, alpha energy, heavy accents, and zero patience. Elizabeth, younger, sweet-faced, always trying to translate rage into charm. And right in the middle, a family who could feud over casserole toppings if the cameras were rolling. It was perfect. Dysfunctional. Gold. TLC saw them as viral capital. The formula was simple. Drop Andrei into a room with Elizabeth's extended family. Ignite a minor disagreement and film until someone's yelling, someone's crying, and someone's threatening to walk off. Or fly back to Moldova. And the fans addicted. They loved to hate Andrei's aggression and would resent Elizabeth for enabling it, but they never looked away. He was the guy you rolled your eyes at only to press rewind. Seconds later, when he blew up over something dumb, like a miscommunication or a minor dinner comment. Season after season, TLC grew the chaos like a Frankenstein monster. More sisters, more stage cookouts, more drama over parenting, money, power dynamics, and cultural control. There was one goal. Make viewers pick sides, argue in forums, send clips viral, and it worked. At first, Andrei brought numbers. Elizabeth brought balance. Her family supplied the rest. And as long as the viewers stayed angry or curious, they stayed employed. But then something happened that no one expected. Not the network, not the editors, not even the audience. The tension stopped evolving. Every season felt like a rerun with new outfits. Andrei yelling about control. Elizabeth stuck in the mediator loofah. Family members sarcastically shading him over jobs, loans, manhood, parenting. Then apologizing, then yelling again. The same piano keys, different background. The internet went from, "OMG, did he just say that?" to, "Haven't we seen this fight 3 times already?" And the heat, it started cooling. Hate watching turned into plain burnout. Fans didn't want revenge arcs anymore. They wanted progression. Anything that looked like emotional movement. Andrei wasn't offering that. His conflicts never softened, never widened, never transformed. He stayed stuck in alpha battle mode while the cast around him either grew or stepped back. And Elizabeth started shrinking on camera, smiling politely, choosing silence instead of blindly defending. At one point, fans noticed she completely stopped engaging in group fights unless directly spoken to. Outside the frame, it got darker. Sources close to multiple shoots say Andrei began pushing back hard against producers. Scripts got rejected mid-shoot. He refused to film certain scenes. If the storyline painted him in a bad light, and let's face it, what storyline didn't? He would stall, argue. Sometimes leave altogether. Crews had to wait hours. Multiple insiders said. Production days were extended, rearranged, or trashed completely. And some staffers refused to work with him. Again. They were done. The charm of chaos had curdled. One former crew member allegedly wrote in their end-of-season feedback, "You know it's bad when you'd rather film with an ex getting deported than deal with another scene of Andrei shouting about respect at AM." His ego grew, but fan enthusiasm shrank. And producers, trapped between a cast member who refused to evolve and an audience sick of recycled drama, they started unplugging quietly, strategically, not with confrontation, but documentation. And that's when TLC quietly began building the kill switch. The season started like any other. B-roll of family barbecues. Awkward glances across crowded dining rooms. A drama breadcrumb. Here. A petty jab there. On paper, this was a typical Andrei and Elizabeth setup. Tense, messy, marketable. But behind the scenes, something felt hollow. Producers said Andrei rejected an entire day's audio plan because the conflict was, in his words, too recycled and beneath him. He told the segment lead he wouldn't look like a clown for scripted garbage. That scene never filmed. The crew sat in the driveway for hours until they were dismissed. No call sheet for the next shoot. That was day 5. Elizabeth arrived the next week late, tired, dull-eyed in her confessional. Not icy. Not hostile, drained. Makeup didn't hide it. She kept pausing between answers, struggling to find the right words during interviews. Off camera, one assistant producer overheard her whisper, "I can't keep doing this." That clip never aired. But the consequences echoed across every department. Andrei allegedly escalated. On day 9, during a basic backyard segment, he snapped at a producer reading cue notes and said, "You're not my script writer. Film more. Leave." Then walked off. No pickup shots, no coverage. PA teams were left scrambling, editing timelines blown up. And when posts got their hands on the raw footage, it was chaos. Continuity was ruined. Half scenes cobbled together with 3 weeks between them. Lighting mismatches, emotional beats that didn't line up. Voiceovers were patched over. Mid-scene transitions to give the illusion of a coherent plot. Entire arguments were stitched together from different locations just to make the cuts make sense. One post-editing insider allegedly said, "By episode, we were holding the season together with duct tape and dubbed audio. It wasn't a storyline anymore. It was recovery mode." Producers went from planning episodes to building risk outlines. Every team call shifted from what drama to push to what damage they could contain. The energy on set gone. People clocked in, clocked out, and checked out. And TLC noticed. Their usual all-hands calls, which once revolved around promotion opportunities and crossovers, now opened with backup plans and silence protocols. Nobody wanted to ask the real question. Why were they still filming this? By week 4, 3 different crew members opted out of any future Andrei Elizabeth involvement. Not for the drama, for their safety. Not physically. Psychologically. Fans noticed, too. Instagram commentary took a turn. Reddit threads filled with, "Why is the season so disjointed? Why does Elizabeth look like she's sleepwalking? Is Andrei even filming anymore?" The answer was barely. By the time the studio prepped wraparound interviews, the connective tissue that threads the whole season. Andrei stepped into the set minutes late, glanced at one confessional cue card, and allegedly flung the clipboard across the floor. That question, "Do you regret how you handled things with production this year?" He didn't answer. He left. Elizabeth stayed. Not for the scene, for the quiet. She didn't film right away. Didn't cry. According to a production source, she sat in the trailer with a producer for nearly an hour. No back and forth, no defense, no rant, just sat. And when she got up, she said, "I'm sorry," and then went home. By then, the editors were used to making entire B-plots from abandoned scraps. One episode featured a group dinner that originally ended in a shouting match, but TLC cut it dead mid-conflict after. Internal optics flagged it as brand damaging. The final released version, a jarring cut from tense vibes to talking head footage from 4 weeks earlier, strategically recontextualized. It even had birds chirping in the background edited in. Scene felt fake because it was fake. By the last third of the filming block, reality TV veterans involved were already calling it. Things weren't shaky. They were collapsing. And then Elizabeth stopped showing up for him, for the show, for the chaos. Andrei didn't fade. He fought. While most stars accept fading relevance. With a slow pivot to side hustles and softcore nostalgia, Andrei took every closed door personally and made sure everyone around him felt it. He started blasting off emails to producers. Sometimes back-to-back, stacking paragraphs full of complaints, confusion, conspiracy, the tone, hot, accusatory, laced with phrases like deliberate targeting, and "you're trying to erase me." Allegedly, he claims sabotage. Said someone on the inside was cutting his scenes to make him look like the villain. Irony. No one needed to cut anything for him to look that way. The footage did the work. The only thing changing now was the attention vanishing. And as the producers skimmed these messages, if at all, they didn't argue. They forwarded, saved, flagged, prepared. A digital moat was already being built around him without him knowing. It wasn't censorship. It was containment. Not because of what he was saying, but how demanding he'd become while refusing any accountability. At the same time, TLC did what most networks do when a star becomes a liability. They pulled away from the edges first. No promos, no tags, no mentions. Then came the silence. Andrei, still convinced he was irreplaceable, messaged former castmates, crew, and even assistant editors to back his version of the truth. Allegedly, the messages weren't desperate. They were entitled, "You know, I made this show what it is." One DM supposedly read. Few were ignored. One got a single word response. No, most left unread. And it hit deeper than a headline because in reality, TV, silence from your peers isn't passive. It's rejection. Then came the final silence. Elizabeth. Everything that had always inched toward performance, cute family posts after a dramatic episode, a random anniversary edit during a bad press week vanished. The algorithm didn't forget. She stopped posting mid-season. She didn't shadow defend Andrei. Didn't repost their edited scenes. Stopped engaging with Instagram threads where fans were asking, "Is this the end?" Her feed, which used to run like clockwork with soft filters, pastel aesthetics, and hashtags like mom life and married chaos, went dim. And to anyone who paid attention to her social media like it was a heartbeat, yeah, that silence said everything. Requests from TLC's PR team were quietly sent to both of them. Joint statement ideas. Sample lines crafted to clean the scandal gently. Things like looking forward to what's next or focusing on family growth. Classic reality safe spin. Elizabeth ignored every single one, even the low-effort ones. Not because she didn't care. According to a producer close to her final recording session, she allegedly said privately, "Maybe we needed this." Not in anger. Not in defiance. With a kind of release that let everyone in the room know she wasn't trying to put the fire out anymore. She was walking away from the match entirely. TLC took the hint. While she sat in silence, Andrei kept pushing. He allegedly made demands to have specific producers replaced, wanted final say on footage, and even floated the idea of shooting a redemption arc on his own dime. Response: none. Late day. Meetings at TLC began shifting internally. The topic was no longer, should we renew Andrei and Elizabeth? It became, how fast can we disconnect without making this worse? Because when the woman who had once run interference, smoothed fan blowback, rebranded him at every reunion stop, suddenly shuts up. Even TLC knows better than to push against that. Elizabeth had always been the calming edit, the Instagram apology post, the confessional redirection. Her exit wasn't dramatic. It was tactical, clean. Meanwhile, Andrei kept shaking the bars of a cage that no longer existed. He reportedly began sending content to lower-level staff to prove narrative control was biased against him. Claimed scenes were edited out of order to manufacture a villain he never agreed to be. But he missed the operative word, agreed. In reality TV, you don't get to approve the emotional truth. You perform. They edit. That's the deal. And when your raw behavior stops giving producers anything but liability, they don't argue, they disconnect. Elizabeth understood that. Every brand manager, content coordinator, and fan forum began to notice the pattern. She started backing out of everything jointly branded. Canceled a collab, withdrew from a family influencer brunch she never used to miss, stopped linking Andrei's page entirely, and when asked in a comment if she'd go live with Andrei soon, she didn't delete or respond. She left it untouched under a caption of her daughter holding a coloring book. That silence hit harder than a breakup announcement. PR insiders say Elizabeth was passively signaling her distance in a way louder than any tell-all confession. When you've been the emotional translator for a chaotic partner on national television for years and you go quiet at the most critical moment, you're not checking out. You're checking out of the contract. Viewers caught on. Even longtime defenders stopped asking for explanations. Her behavior made sense in a way no quote could capture. She didn't need a microphone this time. The silence worked harder. And then TLC stopped asking whether to bring them back and started asking how fast they could cut them out. Andrei thought silence was temporary. A timeout. A setup for a comeback moment. The kind of dramatic redemption arc reality TV loves to recycle. But the truth hit harder than any clapback. This wasn't a pause. It was exile. The soft kind. The kind where no one says it out loud, but every email goes unanswered. Every tag disappears, and your name slowly vanishes from internal docs like it was erased with surgical precision. TLC didn't need to announce they were done. They just stopped treating him like he was part of anything anymore. Marketing folders linked to Andrei and Elizabeth wiped. Thumbnail series with their faces gone. Paid asset promos scheduled months ago archived. The platform removed every pre-locked plan that had their names attached. Andrei wasn't cancelled by cancel culture. He was cleared from the stage by people who were finally done negotiating with EGO. Behind the scenes, casting teams locked down. Legal drafted internal guidelines about contact. PR stopped pitching their clips to blogs. One insider said it was like watching someone build an invisible wall. He didn't even know he was on the other side. And Andrei, in classic form, refused to believe the doors were shutting. He thought TLC worked for him. Allegedly, he sent in feedback on how his footage should have been cut. Claimed scenes were shaped unfairly. Argued that his outbursts were out of context, his reactions provoked, his legacy damaged. Some of the messages weren't even based on actual scenes. He started referencing episodes by their fan names, not editor codes, like in the crying sister chaos scene, "You made me look unreasonable." One producer reportedly wrote that phrase down and stared at it in disbelief. By then, even he had stopped distinguishing between perception and reality, and no one was left to clean it up for him. Cast members, especially ones he'd sat next to at reunions and crossover events, started going quiet when his name came up in interviews. Not out of fear, out of boredom. His drama didn't deliver jaw-dropping shock anymore. It delivered production problems. And in unscripted television, problems are only worthwhile as long as they're bankable. The moment they start costing more than they return, you're not edgy. You're expensive. Multiple fans spotted a telling shift. Cast members began quietly liking TikToks that dragged Andrei's behavior, not with fire, but exhaustion. One clip mashed up his infamous "I'm the man" scene with sound bites from real crew complaints. A spin-off regular dropped a like. Another reshared it. And that those little micro-movements online, they signaled something big. The cast wasn't going to defend him. Not because they disliked him personally, but because loyalty dries up when it threatens your slot on the call sheet. They didn't want to be associated with what he had become. A cautionary tale. Meanwhile, TLC was already redirecting their energy. Ratings meetings featured new couples. PR teams pitched newer cast conflicts to bloggers. Internal meetings shifted focus from what went wrong with Andrei to how to avoid accidentally building another version of him. But not everyone vanished into the void. Elizabeth quietly stayed in the system, not with a contract, but with an opening. According to one source, shortly after TLC internally closed the book on Andrei, a Casting coordinator reached out very discreetly with a simple question. Would you be open to working with the show again separately down the road when things calm down? She didn't overreach. Didn't grovel for the opportunity. Her answer wasn't desperate. It was direct. When I'm ready. Those 3 words said everything. She wasn't begging to stay. Relevant. She was controlling her return. Andrei still couldn't see the difference. He was still emailing. Weekly, allegedly CCing random staffers who hadn't worked on the series in over a year. One message contained clips he'd annotated to show bias and editing pattern. Another reportedly accused TLC of media betrayal. He saw himself as the architect of the show's glory days, the thread between viral seasons. He said. They built viewership off his back and now they were cutting him out of his own creation. But the truth, he was never in charge. The production machine had always tolerated him because of what fans tolerated until no one did. And when control stopped being mutual, his presence stopped being useful. TLC didn't need to argue with him. They didn't need to correct the record. They didn't fear backlash. They simply rewrote next season without him. From a business perspective, it wasn't personal. It was practical. Andrei was noise. Loud noise that claimed ownership, demanded edits, refused guidance, and drained every department. That energy is fun in a couple reunion scenes. Not sustainable across our shoot days when every second costs budget. Elizabeth got quiet, real quiet. AIM. And TLC saw that for what it was. Non-operation with damage control, but also finally a green light to stop fighting gravity. Producers no longer had to worry about cleaning him up to protect her image. She did that work herself by removing herself emotionally, financially, digitally. He thought they were going to fix everything for him, rebuild a path back to the story. Instead, they rewrote history without his name in it. Then came his final email, and TLC never even opened it. The fallout wasn't filmed. There were no boom mics in the hallway, no cameras panning to the tension in their kitchen, no producer commentary filling in the blanks, but you could feel it in every quiet post, every missed vlog, every photo with one less smile than before. What broke Andrei and Elizabeth didn't happen on set. It happened off-screen, slowly, quietly, and painfully after the call stopped, after the contracts dried up. Elizabeth detached first emotionally and then digitally. The same woman who once served as Andrei's social filter, cleaning up his messes with gentle captions and soft focus selfies, stopped defending. Then she stopped posting altogether. At first, fans chalked it up to stress. Maybe burnout, maybe privacy. But what was really happening was a long, quiet undoing years in the making. Andrei didn't clock it immediately. He was still focused on fixing the image. Still convinced that one good pitch could turn it all around. He allegedly drafted comeback content. Titles like Healing from Hate and Fame vs. Family. He floated ideas for a raw YouTube series, just them, no producers, no bias, all truth. He thought the followers would return. Maybe TLC would even reconsider. But Elizabeth wanted sleep, space, stability for their daughter, for herself. Insiders close to the family say the fights started over small things. Which emails to answer. Whether to record together, who would edit the clips, but they weren't about media. They were about resistance. Andrei still wanted the spotlight. Elizabeth wanted peace. And somewhere in that emotional tug-of-war, the real collapse began. The arguments became routine. Not explosive, just cold. Silent tension across the table. Missed cues. 1. Source close to the couple said she overheard Elizabeth tell a friend privately, "I'm not angry. I'm done." That was weeks before Andrei even noticed she'd stopped logging into their joint brand account. The machine that had given them everything, sponsorships, visibility, status, was gone. And Suddenly they had nothing to organize around but each other. No crisis to manage together, no cameras to rally for, no fake family feud to rehearse through. All that remained were the unfiltered cracks they thought the audience never saw. TikTok stopped clipping them. Reddit threads about what went wrong got drowned out by updates on newer couples. Even fan pages stopped reposting their peak moments. Everyone else had moved on. Andrei hadn't. He was still trying to create buzz. But buzz doesn't survive on nostalgia. It feeds on momentum, and they'd lost theirs. Elizabeth wasn't the one begging for a new arc. She wasn't pitching production. She wasn't tagging TLC or shaming them publicly. Her silence had turned into her boundary. Offline, she poured into her daughter. Online, she barely showed up. Andrei took it as abandonment. But it wasn't betrayal. It was clarity. He had wanted loyalty from her to the version of him that was crashing. She wanted freedom from the version of herself that existed only to prop him up professionally. And that gap, it widened fast. And when TLC released teaser promos for their next season without them, Andrei allegedly blasted messages across multiple departments demanding answers. Elizabeth said nothing. Not to them, not to him. Her non-response was the final confirmation. Not only did she see the writing on the wall, she'd accepted it. Producers no longer needed her approval to sever the tie. They already had what they needed, her absence from the cleanup. And that gave them room to move. New cast members were slotted in. All newer drama, all chaos. With an arc, viewers adjusted faster than expected. Elizabeth and Andrei weren't missed. They were just gone. And while Andrei scrolled, waiting for the post that would validate his pain, some comment section, some fan video, anything, he kept seeing the same reaction instead. Indifference or worse, relief. Even the fans who used to get him had stopped defending him. And those who cringed through every reunion meltdown, every alpha meltdown, every dinner table tantrum felt vindicated. Their couple was gone and nothing in the franchise had collapsed. In fact, most fans agreed. Episodes felt cleaner, less forced, more watchable. And somewhere inside the house, where all those scenes had once been shot, where producers huddled in garages and long afternoons were scripted into fights, there was now silence, not productive, not healing. Just separate lives, same roof. He was planning a comeback. She was searching for an exit. When Andrei realized Elizabeth wouldn't even repost their old anniversary video, one of the few genuine moments they'd shared on camera, he allegedly pushed for a joint live Q&A. She said maybe then show? That wasn't forgetfulness. That was her decision. All those years, her loyalty had been the duct tape keeping his volatility marketable. She smiled when he shouted, softened when he doubled down, spun fights with her family into teachable moments. And even as fans questioned her judgment, she showed up week after week until she didn't. They didn't lose fans. They lost each other in the very silence that finally freed her. But the most brutal twist in this saga, it came from someone who once called Andrei unforgettable.